This is a new form that you received, and it is due next Friday, March 17th. So before I get started, I want to walk us through it just in case there's any questions on how to complete it. I want everyone to understand that this is not, first of all, let me say that we see all of our grantees as the Office of Out of School Time as our partners and critical stakeholders. We are in this with you together. We want you to be successful. We have the same goals, and that is the success of our youth, the ongoing development and academic achievement of our youth. And so we're here to help. Of course, we're administering the funds, so we have to be good stewards of federal and local funds. And so we have to stay on top of compliancy. This is our way of doing that. And so, I'm learning as I come in. I created this tool quickly. I believe it within the first 2 weeks, just as a means of seeing where we are with all of the compliancy expectations. We will continue to develop and learn together. But please know, of foremost, that this is not going to be punitive in any way. This is for us to assess where you are as an organization so that we can offer the supports that are needed to get you to highest functioning programming that we can and in full compliancy so that we are all providing the most high quality services to the youth that we serve in the district. I want that to be very clear. We are here to support you. So as we look at the form, and actually, Alex, thank you for sharing it. I'm wondering if I can share it so that I can populate it. Great. Okay. Let me do just that. I'm going to open it up here and we will walk through it. This first, well, of course, at the top up here, you're going to put your organization name and then the grant year, which is a drop down, and you simply put FY23. You're going to come down here to attendance verification. What we need you to do is list the last 5 program dates in which your organization provided out of school time services. Now, having been in your shoes, I know as administrators, sometimes your program sites don't get your full rosters to you immediately. And so as long as these dates are within the month of February, you're okay. We want to see for this month 5 consecutive days of service, as recent as possible. But if you don't have last week's and you're completing it, do it for the week before. And for those, you're going to, for each of the dates, if you have multiple sites, so let's say February 22nd, 2023. I have 3 sites, and each site serves 25 kids. Or served 25 kids on that day. You're going to put the total attendance of 75. You're going to do that for each of the 5 program dates, consecutive program dates that you provide. I understand not all programs provide programming Monday through Friday. It will be the 5 consecutive days of service that you provide. And you will do that, and then you will attach the 5 or multiple rosters from across different sites representing the 5 dates as an attachment to demonstrate that the attendance is exactly as you have entered it. Now, I want to point out something that I have already learned about this form. I highlighted anywhere that I wanted you to submit copies. So highlighting it in blue text was not the best choice because, as many of you have pointed out, they appear to be links that do not work. They are not links. They are just highlights of where you need to submit copies. So my apologies for that. You can submit in the initial directions it said to submit per attachment or a shared drive, such as Google Drives, if you use that, is fine. And you want to submit those directly to your grant management specialist. So in this case, you would attach those rosters. Any questions in regards to attendance verification? And you can just come off mute. I can't see everyone's hand. So if you have a question, come off mute. Okay, not hearing any, I'm going to jump over to enrollment. With enrollment, you want to enter the unduplicated youth currently enrolled in your program. If your organization is funded to provide programming at more than one site, please enter the total number of unduplicated youth across all sites. And so you're going to come down here and you're going to say, across all sites, I have 100 kids. Of those, 75 are in K-5, 25 are in 6 through 8, and 0 of them are high school or post-high school. And some of our programs do serve kids that maybe are no longer in high school, but they're in that youth range of age 19 to 23 that we're still able to serve. So that's what that number is for. It will automatically populate your percentages. Now, the next one is that you're going to indicate the wards that your youth reside in. And so you're going to just simply state 3, 7, 8. We need to know what wards we're serving. And so that's all you do there. The next question is FERPA consent included on your enrollment forms. Per the grant agreement, we did provide guidance in regards to including FERPA consent and SAYO consent, the student youth survey consent on your enrollment forms. Now, if that didn't happen, then you can send out a consent form separately from the enrollment forms and get that signed from parents. But what FERPA is, just to make sure everyone is on the same page, it's the Family Education Right to Privacy Act, similar to the HIPAA in the health field. That means that we can share data, that we can obtain their academic data, their demographic data from DCPS and OSSI. We can look at who we're serving specifically and how they're achieving. And so in order for us to receive data and share data with you, we have to have FERPA consent form. And so we ask that every parent or guardian of every student obtains that, or that you obtain that for them. So you're going to say yes. If you do not have it on the enrollment form, just indicate yes, but provide us that documentation. Maybe it's not the enrollment form because I've asked you up here to submit a copy of the out of school time program enrollment form demonstrating FERPA consent. If it is not on your enrollment form, but a different form, just provide a copy of that so that we have evidence that you are seeking FERPA consent. So again, it doesn't have to be the enrollment form, but you do need to submit the document. Any questions there? Okay, great. The next one is pretty straightforward. Is the Learn24 logo posted on your website? Yes or no? If yes, then you're going to include the web address right there for us so that we can check that out. Now, we understand that some smaller organizations don't have the same capacity when it comes to managing websites. And you may not have, internally the ability to do that. We are hoping that you can get that done, but we understand in all things. So just let us know in the email what your status is in regards to that, or we'll follow up and ask. I'm going to jump over to any questions?
Yes, I have a question about that. Can you give us a little more guidance on the logo placement? Like, do you want it on our organization homepage or the page of the team that has this grant, or like, that would help us kind of figure out how to do it.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So thank you for asking. What I would recommend is if you have a page where you have your program services listed and you actually reference the out of school time program services that you provide, that would be a great place to mention that the program is funded in part or full by the Office of the Deputy Mayor of Education, Out of School Time, and Youth Development Office, and then place the logo. It does not have to be on the homepage. I would place it where it's most relevant. Any other questions? Okay, financial verification. I know this is a fun one you guys have questions about. Total number of full-time and part-time employees. In the directions, it specifies that this is specific to those that are being funded by your out of school time grant. So you may have 100, or more employees in your organization. We're asking for those that are being funded by your out of school time grant. So if you have 10 employees that are part-time, full-time, 2 that are part-time, and you're working with 3 consultants, what we need to see is not the whole running list of any time you paid them, but within the last month, 4 to 6 weeks, giving some flexibility there, payments towards those full-time employees, part-time employees, and contractors. If you haven't made payments during that time frame, you can submit timesheets and or contracts that's just showing us that you are utilizing the funds as you have stated that you would in your grant budget. And then before I ask if there's any questions, this is just for fidelity. When managing funds, it's always essential for us to know whether you are participating in a federal audit. If you are or not, just simply let us know. Any questions regards to financial verifications?
This is Caitlin Ellsworth from Access Youth. I do have a question.
Yes.
It's looking a little spotty. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So regarding the question about participating in a federal audit, we are going to be subject to a federal single audit this year due to hitting the threshold required by another one of our grantors and funders for doing that. But we have not actually begun that process yet. So my question is, would you like us to check that box as yes or no? Or is that even the kind of federal audit that you're talking? We're not being audited by the IRS. We are, hiring an independent auditor to conduct a federal single audit because we hit the threshold that DC requires. So that's
thank you for sharing that. And for any organization that's going through something similar, you can include that in your email over to us, but indicate no, you are currently not participating in a federal audit, particularly as it relates to one that was initiated by the IRS.
Okay, got it. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, and any independent audits, you would respond as no. If there's no other questions, we'll come down to the next big fun one, and that is around safety and security verifications. So the things that we've asked here for, each organization needs to have at least one mandated reporter on site at any site working with youth. And so just provide the name and or names. You can provide multiple names, but we just need proof of one. So just depends on what you want to do there, because what we're going to do is that we're going to have to look and verify then that it is uploaded into CitySpan, the certificate of that person. So you can simply answer there, yes, we have uploaded the certificate, and we'll do the due diligence of checking that, or no, or not applicable because we don't have a mandated reporter. If the answer is no, then we will ask you to upload it as part of the follow-up process. Next question, does your organization have a established bullying prevention policy? If yes or no, answer accordingly. And then has your organization's bullying prevention policy been approved by OHR? So a lot of grantees have indicated that they were not aware that this was necessary. And so again, this is not a gotcha. We will just provide, if your answer is no, then we will just say, here's the information to the OHR office. Please, within this time frame, follow up with them and seek approval. And so again, it's just about guiding you in the right direction to complete these things.
I'm sorry.
Has your organization... Yes, is there a question specific to that?
Yes, I'm sorry. My connection got a little weird when you were talking about the mandated reporter, so I didn't catch that. Did you say we need to put all the ones who are funded by the grant, or can you repeat what you said about what needs to go in line 26?
No, it does not have to be all you only have to put one per site. We require any site that's working with, where there are service to youth, that there is a minimum of one mandated reporter. Whoever you have uploaded the certificate, and you may have uploaded 10 certificates to CitySpan, as long as one is in there, you're good per site. Because that is the compliance requirement, that you have one per site. Again, you may have 10 or more, and you can certainly list them, but you're just required to list one. Okay, down to the incidents. So has your organization had any unusual incidents occurring during this program, during program hours? This relates to anything that your organization would complete an incident report for. A child falls off the monkey bars, busts open his mouth. Incident is completed, provides a copy to parent. We need a copy as well. So if the answer is yes, then the next question is, have you submitted it to the Office of Out of School Time? You can say yes or no. If you have not had any incidents, then you would say, no, we have not applicable. We've had no incidents to report. If the answer is no, we will just provide you the link. It is online on our Learn24 under the grantees tab. There is a link so that you can confidentially upload any incidents that have taken place. So if you need to do that, just go in and upload those incident reports so that we have copies. And then if something ever happens, a lawsuit from a parent, etc., we are aware of all incidences in advance. So that's the purpose for that. And then everyone's favorite, what is the status of background check completion for required staff and volunteers? I'm going to say here that I do not expect many of you to have all complete. This is a system-wide issue. We know that it's difficult to get staff in time, and the turnaround through the DCHR, as well as through our office, is very backlogged. So it is not unique to your organization that you're having trouble with this, but we ask that you continue to do your due diligence to get all of your staff background screened as soon as possible, and continue to follow up with us or whomever completed your background checks to ensure that those are complete and uploaded to CitySpan as soon as possible. And we will continue to work with you. This is one of the areas that we are looking to provide improvement for our office, because we know that this is a bottleneck. This and our invoice process are two areas that we will be working on to improve for all of our grantees in the very near future. So just respond honestly, do what you can. Please be reminded that if any of your staff are DCPS employees, they have already met all the background clearances, and you can upload that clearance directly to CitySpan. Alex, that's the same for DC Gov, or do you want to provide any additional information that I may have missed in regards to background clearances?
No, you actually hit it all on the head. Anything, all the background checks and all the background results can be uploaded into CitySpan. They have the different delegations as you are trying to add them. So if it's a FBI or MPD check, there will be a tab or a folder that says FBI and as well as MPD. So yes, you can add the background check as it coincides with the file.
So thank you, Alex, very much. So once again, this is just giving us a pulse check of where everyone is with this. It helps us to know where we need to improve, as we've already, identified some of those areas. And it helps us to know where we can best support you. We will follow up with any areas such as partially complete here to say, okay, these are what we need to work on. Here is some technical support. This is how we can support it. Let's, let me follow back up in a month or so, see where we're doing. Let's create some internal deadlines between us so that we can stay on track with this. That is the purpose of this, not so that you can get stressed out about not having these complete. And we know that many of them are complete. They're just waiting for final approvals and uploads. So let's just, continue to be transparent with each other so that we can ensure together that we can reach compliancy. Any questions?
Yes, this is Caitlin Ellsworth again.
Okay.
So related to the bullying prevention policy, I was unable, I'm one of those grantees who was not aware that like getting written approval from OHR was even a thing. And so we have a bullying prevention policy that we created back when the whole bullying task force came out with the recommendation that organizations develop these policies, and it's in line with the model policy and everything. But I can't find anything on their website about how to even submit. I tried calling and couldn't get an answer. So if you guys could provide information about how exactly to obtain that approval, that would be really helpful.
Absolutely. Katrina, do you mind putting the email of the gentleman who is the contact for OHR into the chat?
Oh, definitely. I'll provide that in a minute. Sure.
Great. Thank you so much. So reach out to the individual. His name has escaped me, Mr. Ernest, I believe, and just let him know that you need either to have it approved and ask him for the process for that, or that you have had it approved in the past and you just need verification of that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I had a question. I put it in the chat, and I apologize if it went over my head and it was somebody answered me in the chat. Never mind.
No worries. Do you want to, I can't see the chat, but if you want to ask and we, so
yes.
we all are, yeah.
Yeah, so my question was, we're a nonprofit-based organization, and I know that we do background checks for our employees, and I know that the standard is like the same background check that DCPS uses. So I wanted to know, like, was there like a checks and balances or a way to know if that background check that our site requires is comparable to what you all are looking for?
Okay, great. And you received a response. I'm now looking that you want to ensure all front program staff working with you pass through the following clearances. And those are the FBI, DC, MPD, NSO, the National Sex Offender, and then the the CFSA, which is, what is it? It's Child Protective Services. DCHR facilitates the FBI, DC, MPD, and NSO. You have to go through the CFSA separately from that. So those are the requirements.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions in regards to mandated reporting, bullying prevention, or background checks? Okay, the last one here is quality improvement verification. We just asked, did you participate in the required program quality assessment training that took place at the end of January, beginning of February? And if you did, you're going to say yes or no, or that you participated online. We did send out to any individual that did not participate the opportunity to participate in a virtual training. And so if that was the route that you went, then you will indicate yes, that you did it online. If you have not participated, please follow up with your grant management specialist right away if you didn't somehow miss the information related to participating online. And that is through the Weichert Institute. You're going to provide the name of the individual who attended the training, either in person or online. And then you're going to indicate if your organization is participating in the cohort this year. You can say yes, because it's required. Yes, but we're doing it voluntary. It wasn't required, but we chose to do it. Or no, not required, or no, required. Just again, so we know and we can follow up for those who are required to participate to ensure that they are. Any questions there? All right, then the last thing we ask is that if your organization has encountered any significant personnel changes, and if you have, you can provide detail below. Now, of course, if you have any changes in your executive leadership, your grant administrator, your data administrator, please provide us that information. Or if there is someone else that should be receiving communications that currently is not, that you would like us to add to the contact list, we can do that as well. So you can add that, or just share with us any significant issues so that we are aware and understand how that can impact your programming. And we know that part-time, out-of-school time staff can certainly have a higher than usual turnover rate or difficulty hiring. So if you just want to document that as it relates to your ability to carry out programming as indicated in the grant agreement, then you can certainly do that there as well. Any questions? Awesome. Okay. Well, I hope that
Yes.
makes everyone feel a little bit better. Yeah. Was there a question?
Yes, Quentin Hudgens, I wanted to ask you about the clearance. So I have DCPS teachers. Do you know if that also includes the CFSA clearance, or is that in addition to?
It does. So we're
Okay.
DCHR. If you go through DCHR, it doesn't include the CFSA, but if they are a DCPS teacher,
Yes.
they already have all of those clearances.
Okay. And I had one more question in reference to the bullying policy. Ours
Yes.
was approved maybe about 2 years ago through working with Learn24. Do we need to get it reapproved for this process, or are we good?
No, you do not need to get it reapproved. If you have an old email or any verification that it has been approved in the past, if you can submit that, that works. Otherwise, you can email the gentleman who is included in the chat and just ask him for that verification, and we will put it on file so that we don't have to ask you again. That's Mr. Ernest Shepard in the chat, the Office of Human Rights contact. But if you have, like I said, any type of old verification that it's been approved by the OHR office, then you can just submit that. And of course, this is just because we really take this seriously as an agency, and we want to make sure that the policies that are being established are in line with the expectations of our district and nationally as it relates to preventing bullying.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Can someone list those clearances again?
Yes, they are in the chat. And I would also remind everyone, if you go to the Learn24 website, again, on the grantees tab, providers and then grantees, you will see the handbook. It's been very valuable to me as I've been learning the grantee handbook, and then you can just do a search for background or FERPA or SEO or whatever it is, invoices that you're looking for an answer for. I would certainly recommend that everyone have a copy of that pulled up on their screen or printed out at their desk. But the background checks, and again, they're in the chat as well, in case you want to look, are FBI, the DC Metropolitan Police Department, two separate ones. So first one's FBI, second one is DC Metropolitan Police Department, and the third one is the NSO, or National Sex Offenders. The fourth one is, I'm going to butcher the acronym is CFSA. I believe it's like Community of Family and Children and Family Services Administration. And they do the Child Protective Services check. So anyone who has had a finding of, again, from Child Protective Services, that would show up. So those are the four. If you go through DCHR covers FBI, DC Police, and NSO. You still have to do the Children and Family Services Administration separately. If your staff is a DCPS teacher and or employee, all four of those have already been conducted, and that background check verification can be uploaded. Any other questions?
Yeah, so we actually do have two questions from Mr. Simon in the chat.
Great.
And so his first question is, I'm just going to read in his text. We are aware of the FERPA consent form. However, is there language needed on our consent form that specifically speaks to SAIL-wide consent?
in the handbook that I just referenced, and I believe somebody dropped the link to the handbook. If not, if someone can, into the chat. Otherwise, it's on the Learn24 website. We have in there a sample template for both the FERPA and the SAYO consent. They are two different consents. You are also required, so thank you, Mr. Simon, for bringing it up, to have consent in order to administer the SAYO. And future administrative checks, that will probably be included on there. We're looking at obtaining data on the students for from DCPS and OSSI currently, so it was really important that we know that the FERPA consents have been administered. But you are required to have FERPA and SAYO consent from the parent/guardian, and there is a template language inside that handbook.
All right, and then his other question or statement was, you have talked about streamlining invoice payment process to ensure that providers receive grant payment on a more timely basis, as they have still not received their first grant payment to date.
Yes, and for anyone who is still waiting on payment, as you may recall, I said everyone wants to know Miss Kimitha Payton when we did introductions. The hiring of a resource allocation analyst was a first step towards helping expedite this process. Kimitha is taking over and learning processes, and we are working together to establish different systems that will not be overnight. So bear with us. I know it is so frustrating not being able to have the funding to provide programming has got to be one of the most difficult outside of staff turnover that you all are facing. And so we are working expeditiously to address this. And if you have submitted your invoice through the portal and it's been approved, you should receive your payment within 30 days. So if you want to, as soon as we get off, I'm going to look into the status of your payment, Mr. Simon, hoping that that reaches you very quickly. And that goes for anyone who is awaiting payment. I will say in regards to it, because I think it's important, invoices currently should come to your grant management specialist prior to you putting them into the DC vendor portal. And that's because if there is a mistake, we want to catch it before you put it in there, because they're going to push it back and then we got to start over because they have that 30 days. We want to try to resolve any issues before you submit it. That way they approve it and you can get your payment within 30 days. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. This, as you saw with all of the new hires, this office was dreadfully understaffed, including not having an executive director for a while before Dr. Lowe came on. So we know that this has been a difficult time, and kudos to Alex and Kevin and Katrina and Renee for holding everything afloat by themselves until most recently when the rest of us have been hired. But kudos to you for keeping everything afloat on the ground. The hat really goes off to you all who are doing the incredible work.